Hey guys, my name is Rachel, and this is Season 1, Episode 1 of Books on the Road. Today we're traveling to New York City, and I got Scotty over here with a puppy in his lap, and then a puppy back there. We are traveling to drop off dogs at family's house so that we're not taking them, obviously, to New York. Originally, our plan was to take our RV and park at the RV park across from the Statue of Liberty, but we've since changed our mind and we're just flying. But this is still considered a Books on the Road episode because my TBR for the last week has been exclusively books set in New York City, and I'm going to continue to be reading books as we're traveling, while we're there, during free time, etc. So, I just wanted to go ahead and update you because I've already read 2 books set in New York City and I haven't done any reactions. The first book is Girls in White Dresses by Jennifer Close, and the second book is The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, and I got that as a recommendation from Taya Reid, so I'm going to link her channel down below. She has a review, or she talks about this book in a wrap-up at some point, and then she also recommended it to me on Instagram. So far, these books have been sufficient to get me extremely hyped for this trip to New York, especially The Sun is Also a Star because of the setting and the timing. It all happens within a 24-hour period, and they're traveling to different areas of New York. They go to Times Square and Harlem and Manhattan and Chinatown and Koreatown and all over the place, and it got me really excited because we're going to go to some of those locations, and that was the whole point of reading books set in the location that we're traveling to. I'll just go ahead and give you my star ratings and a quick review for these 2 books so far. Girls in White Dresses, I gave 2 stars. It was not great. I have a full review on my Instagram where it details all my thoughts. Essentially, it just wasn't great. There wasn't a lot of character there. There was just like little stories about relationships, and they were all the same kind of relationship, and it was just, I didn't relate at all to any of the relationships because they're really disappointing men, and I've got a great guy over here, so I don't relate when girls are in love with douchebags. So, let's move on to The Sun is Also a Star, which I gave 4 stars, and I loved it so much. It made me cry, and I haven't cried in a book in like forever. The Sun is Also a Star is a YA contemporary romance starring Natasha and Daniel, and Natasha is a Jamaican immigrant, first generation, undocumented, and Daniel is a second generation Korean American or first generation Korean American. His parents are first generation immigrants. I don't know how all of that works together as far as classifications go, but I didn't enjoy the romance part of this because it is a falling in love in one day romance, which I find completely unrealistic and unrelatable, but that's just me. What I did love about this story, and what I could overlook that part of the romance for, was just the conversation on immigrant lifestyle and what it means to be an American immigrant, and issues with deportation and cultural expectations and cultural dissonance between immigrant parents and their children that are now half American, and it was wonderful. I also want to comment on the third-person omniscient viewpoint that we get from our author. I haven't read anything like this in a really long time, and I think it added a lot to the story. So if you haven't read The Sun is Also a Star, our perspective follows both Daniel and Natasha. We are in both of their minds, and then we are also getting perspectives, short chapters, anecdotes from the people they interact with during the day. A security guard at a building where they're entering, a man that they each have a meeting with. What this does is it provides you a greater connection to the world around them, and it comments on this whole underlying narrative of what our choices do and how they affect other people, and just the interconnectedness of people in the universe and how we come together as a people in the universe. It's very universe-y. Depending on your worldview, you might like that, you might not like that. So I think I'm going to stop there because this clip is getting really long. But stick around for some B-roll of the airport and New York City. I don't know how this vlog is going to go. It's our first ever reading/travel vlog, and I'm so hyped.
Books on the road.
Books on the road. My plan for the airplane, I am currently like 20% into Breakfast at Tiffany's, so I'll be continuing Breakfast at Tiffany's, and if I finish it, by chance, it's only a 2.5-hour flight, but if I finish it, I'm going to start The Dollhouse by Fiona Davis. So stick around for more thoughts in New York. we're here. We're at the place we're going to be staying for the next like weekend, long weekend-ish stuff. And I don't really have much to say except like it's kind of cute. I'm going to show you. The person whose bed we're sleeping on is going to be back on like Monday, so then we're going to sleep on the couch, which is always fun. But I wanted to show our view for the weekend and all that jazz, so hang on. Like, look at that. You can see all the way down into like downtown. It's super cool. Is that a Chuck E. Cheese or just a Chuck E. Cheese sign? I don't know. I finished Breakfast at Tiffany's on the plane, and then I started the first book of the New York trilogy by Paul Auster, and I didn't really like Breakfast at Tiffany's. I don't really get the point. I might need to watch the movie again because I don't think they're very similar at all. I tried to record my thoughts after I finished on the plane, but you cannot hear it at all. I feel like the movie was probably better. I don't really get the point. I think it was supposed to be like a character study of Holly Golightly, but like from an outside perspective from a dude, and it was like slightly racist and sexist and a lot not cool. There was like some weird child marriage stuff, which I can't remember if that's in the movie or not, so that's no bueno. But I finished it. So it's like quintessential New York, I feel like, but it wasn't really. Like, The Sun Is Also a Star was way better at getting me in the mood for New York. And I think the next, like, the murder mystery series is going to be good, too. So, we're hanging out here. We'll probably go get dinner later in a bit. My friend is on a meeting, so we're just going to hang out in the apartment. Where's Scotty go?
Right here.
There's Scotty. Wave, say hi.
What's up?
But yeah, this is my quick check-in. It is the end of the day on Saturday, and we were back in the apartment getting ready to go to bed, but I wanted to give a little bit of an update because I have a lot of B-roll from today, but not a lot of content, like voicing content, conversation. We spent all day today out and about and did a little bit of reading on the trains back and forth from different areas of the city. I finished the sample backtrack. City of Glass, which is by Paul Auster, and he wrote the New York trilogy, which is supposed to be like a murder mystery deal. And I downloaded a sample of that one because it was $10 and I wasn't sure if I was going to actually like it. So I finished the sample today and I'm not sure if I'm going to download the rest of the book. It was fine, but it didn't really catch my attention, and it was a little weird, and I'm not really sure how I felt about it. So I didn't continue reading that one, but I did start the Dollhouse by Fiona Davis, and I'm enjoying that one so far. I'm like 2 chapters in because the only reading I did today was on the train. We walked around, we went to the Strand and bought books, and then we went to the Governor's Island and we rode bikes. But tomorrow we're planning on spending most of the day in Central Park and reading there. So I'm really excited to read in Central Park. And I haven't decided if I'm gonna I have to, right, for this video stuff, I have to keep reading my New York themed books, but I want to read the ones that we picked up today. That was a very loud motorcycle. So yeah, not a lot of reading done today, but a lot of walking and a lot of biking, and my legs are gonna be killing me tomorrow. But it's been fun. It's late. I'm gonna go to bed. Hopefully we'll have some more reading content for you tomorrow. And I'll show like the books that I bought today. Why don't I just do that now? I'm just gonna do that now. So, books we bought today. Scotty bought The Exorcist. I have no idea why. I'm not a fan of scary books, so we'll see if he reads this and if he likes it. I picked up a copy of The Sun Is Also a Star because I loved this book, and it may not be one that I reread, but I would definitely want to recommend this to, like, if someone were to come up to me and is looking for YA contemporary romance, here you go. It was really good, and I am proud to own it and have it on my shelves. The second book I picked up is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. So I've been in the mood for sci-fi. This movie has Natalie Portman in it, and Gina Rodriguez, and like so many other fantastic women. And the story confused the heck out of me in the movie. I know it's supposed to, but I was thinking that maybe the book would have some more information. It's really short. I don't know how to do this in front of my face. It's really short, and there are 2 sequels. It's a trilogy. So I don't know if this covers the whole movie or if the trilogy covers if the movie covers the whole trilogy. I guess we'll find out. But I think I might start this one tomorrow because I really want to read it. And the last book I picked up is High Fire by Ann Coulter. And Ann Coulter, for those of you who don't know, wrote the Artemis Fowl series, which is one of my all-time favorite middle grade series. I reread the first book like a month ago, and 5 stars. Like, nostalgia aside, honestly, I feel like I can say that it is an excellent middle grade book. So I got a fantasy, a sci-fi, and a YA contemporary romance, and then Scotty got horror. So I feel like we're kind of all across the board here. That was our day in New York. Enjoy some B-roll. I'll talk to you tomorrow. It is Tuesday evening. We have returned from New York today, and I have a lot to share in this section because something I discovered on this journey is that obviously I still have a lot to learn when it comes to vlogging of the reading and travel varieties. Also, this trip was with two of my friends from high school, which meant that I wasn't alone or with my husband most of the time, so vlogging was uncomfortable for me. But let's get started back to the reading portion of what we're talking about today. So I already talked about how I finished Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I was starting The Dollhouse by Fiona Davis, and so I am now 50% through The Dollhouse, and I'm going to continue and finish it. I read most of it on the plane ride home today, and I'm probably going to finish the rest of it tonight after I get done recording, but I'm enjoying it. I am predicting a 3-star read, which is average for me if you don't know how I rate my books. It is set in New York in 2 different timelines. One is 1950s, one is more modern day, and we're following the same storyline, but the modern day character is researching about the life of the character from the 1950s. So we're learning about this timeline and this story from 2 different timelines, and they're going to meet in the middle at some point. And it's been really interesting, and I like the story that's being told. There's a conversation on feminism and women in the workplace. For my TBR for the New York trip, I had 5 books on the list. I had Breakfast at Tiffany's was number 1. The Sun is Also a Star is number 2. The New York Trilogy by Paul Auster, which is actually 3 books, but I only put it as 1 on the list. I'll explain later. The Dollhouse and The City We Became. So I'm not going to get to The City We Became because we're back from New York. I'm not going to keep reading books about New York once I finish The Dollhouse. And the New York Trilogy was supposed to be our audiobooks. So we were originally planning on driving the RV to New York, but since it was just a short trip of like 4 or 5 days, it felt like too much to try to pack up the whole camper and drive it up there. So we ended up flying, which meant not a lot of time on the road, not a lot of audiobook time. So I did read the sample of the first book of the trilogy to see if I would enjoy it enough to keep going, but I didn't enjoy it, so I'm not going to buy it and waste the $10 and go from there. For my very first ever travel/reading vlog, I had 5 books on my TBR and I read 3. But I'm going to include a book that I read before we actually even left Iowa because it's also set in New York, and that is Girls with White Dresses, and I already talked about that. So overall, I have read 4 books set in New York for our traveling to New York theme. That is the wrap up of where we're at for the book so far. I will check back in with an update on when I finish The Dollhouse and my final thoughts. Overall, I enjoyed this experience of reading books set in the area that I'm visiting. I really feel like it helped get me kind of in the mood for the traveling and also connected me to my location and to the stories I was reading a lot better. For example, The Dollhouse I started reading mostly after we'd already been there. So the locations that they're mentioning in the streets, she keeps talking about like 50th and 32nd and 78th, and I know in relation now to her location and the places we visited what that's like. So that's kind of cool, just being able to put myself on the map of where these characters are. We do not immediately have any additional plans for where we're going to travel to next, so I don't have any additional TBRs for now. I'll just get back to the other books that I've been enjoying reading. Annihilation, like it was so hard for me to not read Annihilation today, but instead pick up The Dollhouse because that was my New York book. But Annihilation is going to be so good, and I'm also still haven't finished The Lies of Locke-Lamora. Something that I might include in the future based off of the interactions with Scotty on this trip. We've discovered that when we go on vacation, he enjoys to read more. Actually, for our anniversary, we tend to go somewhere, and all of our anniversary trips, he's actually read more during that week than he does the whole entire year. So I might try to figure out a way to incorporate his reading reactions and what he's reading on the trip with me. He's not going to be in any clips this time. I do have to say that because we traveled with friends, I was less able to read while we were there. Like, I know for my own personal stuff, I would have planned in time in the morning, in the afternoon, like lazy afternoon, to read a couple chapters or so, and there was no time at all. Like, we were going all day long. In the future, trips where other people aren't involved will probably have more bookish content for you and less just videos of us walking around town. I don't know how to end this. Hopefully I get a better ending when I finish The Dollhouse, because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so we're at my stepdad's house and I just finished The Dollhouse by Fiona Davis. So I'm here to record my thoughts because it was the final of the New York books. I literally just finished it. So sometimes I can't tell if this is a good idea to record right after or a bad idea, but I'm going to start here. I'd give it probably 3 stars. My problem is I felt like it was a really good story that was executed poorly, and I don't like being someone who says that. But I just really felt like the story had so much potential and so much that it could do and so many places that it could go, and it just kind of fell flat for several reasons. The biggest one, the author was struggling so hard with writing emotive scenes that were really emotional and that needed a lot of drama and drive, in which case they all ended up feeling anticlimactic. So I don't want to give spoilers in this, but the final scene, we find out at the very beginning that something big happened to disfigure one of our characters from the present timeline, and so we're looking back in the past to figure out what happened, and we're building up to this climactic scene, and then we get there and it was so anticlimactic and it finished too quickly where it felt that way, and nothing felt like it fit the characters because the author just struggled so much with writing this scene. Like, it was mostly dialogue, and any description in between the dialogue didn't include any emotive imagery. So I need to look up an example of this, but in a situation where she should be describing their eye movements or their heart palpitations or like tics that they're having, because this is a high stress, high energy situation, there should be a lot happening, a lot going on with each character. It almost felt like she was running out of words or pages, and so she just sped through it and didn't include any emotional descriptors for the characters. And it bothered me because it happened mostly in that final climactic scene, but a lot throughout the book. Whenever there was a big serious moment, a death, a romantic encounter, there just wasn't enough detail in the descriptions between dialogue for it to feel real and for me to get invested in those big emotional scenes. I'm getting a little rambly, but the other big reason that I didn't super enjoy this book was just a personal preference of like what I'm tired of reading in romance and literary fiction is women who are constantly obsessed with their appearance. Because I know that that's not 100% of women, but it's 100% of women I read that are constantly worried about, oh, does my hair look weird? Is my makeup running? Oh, I wish I could be like a guy because he doesn't worry about if his cheeks are too rosy. I know that's not all women. I'm tired of reading about it constantly because I work on that on a daily basis to not think about my appearance and not think about being pretty in a situation where prettiness is not necessary or even desired or even noticed. And so when I'm constantly reading about it from my female protagonists and my female characters, I get annoyed because I'm like, no, stop it. I don't need to read this to understand that she's a little insecure. This also plays into the stupid trope of she thinks she's so plain, but he thinks she's the most captivating person in the world. And like, not even just captivating personality-wise, but captivating in physical appearance, even when it's been stated 100 times before that they're plain. There's nothing wrong with plainness. You can be attracted to someone who is plain, and you don't have to say that she was the most captivating person physically, because she's not. You're captivated by the other aspects of her, and that's bothered me. This also leads to a character who misunderstands the intentions of their love interest. So you have a guy who's literally staring her in the face saying, I like you, and she's like, oh, he can't mean that. I'm too plain. He really must mean he hates me. That's so unrealistic and frustrating. And again, on the topic of women trying to work on ourselves, trying to ignore those voices in our head that tell us these things, we don't need to read it, because then when we go into our own interactions, we'll remember this stuff that we read and think the same things of like, oh, he can't really mean he likes me because I'm too plain, just like her. But really, that's just listen to the words that they're saying. Stop overthinking everything. And I get so frustrated with people. And I know people in real life overthink things, but it doesn't have to be every character that we read. And this was just another one of those situations. Okay, so that was what I didn't like about the book. What I did like about the book, I liked the story. I really did like the characters. I liked the story that they were trying to tell of 1950s New York compared with modern day New York and the changes that are happening and people who refuse to change even with the times. It was beautiful in that way. I
I did enjoy it, so I'm not going to give it a 2-star or 1-star. I am going to give it 3 stars. There were just some few, like, pet peevey, nitpicky things that kept it from going any higher. Again, if you like this genre of historical fiction, literary fiction, there's a little bit of a mystery element, but it's not it is a driving factor in the story, but it's not a mystery book. The point of the book is not to solve the mystery. The mystery is just part of what's happening in the plot. I don't know if this was the best way to cap off my New York TBR. What day is it? Today is Saturday. So I haven't even been back from New York for a week. And while I appreciated being back in the atmosphere, I don't know if it was the perfect book for it. The setting of the book, which is the Barbizon Hotel, is a real location. The Barbizon Hotel for women in the 1950s was a residence for women coming to New York that were single, trying to build their careers. They could live there and be safe and protected. It was bought out by an apartment complex to be turned into residences for a wide variety of people. But the few women that were still living there were given the option to move down to a lower floor and maintain their residence at a non-raisable fee rent limit. I don't know what that's called. Essentially, they can't raise the rent on them because they were there before. So it takes that premise and she just pulls kind of mystery in it. There's a bit of conversation about like drug running in New York and how that affects people, and there's classism and racism and sexism and sexual assault. So trigger warnings for sexual assault, trigger warnings for drug use, trigger warnings for abusive parental relationships. So that's very rambly. These are my thoughts. It's 3 stars. It was good. It wasn't fantastic. I'm not raving about it, wanting to go tell other people I didn't love it tremendously, but it was really good. Shout out to whoever just suggested this to me on my Instagram. There was only 2 suggestions. I should know their names, but I'll tag them here. Thanks for the suggestion. This is my final clip of my New York reading/travel vlog. I am terrible at wrapping up my videos, so thank you for joining me on this journey, and I hope to see you in the next adventure. No, I'm not ending yet. Because I'm gonna go read Annihilation, and I'm really excited because, let's see, I am 75 pages in. It's so good. This is gonna be a book versus movie episode video, doodad.